and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we sat down and talked all about your identity. Today, for episode number 296, we are going to do what?
So we're going to talk about why you listen to us.
Yes. So we want to learn more about you, and from our one-on-one clients, from the people in Hyperconscious Nation, when you enter, you answer 3 questions that we ask. The reason we ask those questions is so we can better cater our content to you. So we're going to run through some of the things that we have learned about you guys in the hope that we can help you even more. But we would love if you reached out to us on social media, at NeverQuitKid, at ALazarus88 on the gram, or if you are in Hyperconscious Nation, if you would tell us if we missed anything. Because it is our goal to really, really figure out who we are serving and what the people that we are serving are struggling with.
Exactly. But before we do that, I want you to go to www.thehyperconsciouspodcast.com. Click on join hashtag Hyperconscious Nation if you're not already in there, and let us know what we missed on this episode.
And April 25th.
Oh, yeah.
Live. Worcester, Massachusetts. Be there or be square. It's going to be another full-day event. Mark Metri's in. Kim and Spike Spencer are in. Summer Scalero is in. Alan is in. I am in. Dr. Robert Scott, who graced this microphone a couple months ago, is in. And
a couple others.
Couple others
that
we can't say just yet.
Yeah, 8 speakers, 2 Q&A panels, same format as last time. We are going to do it even bigger and better, as always.
Hyperconscious Live.
April 25th.
Yes. All right, so we actually just got off a business call with Peter Taunton, and he said you guys should come up with he actually said 5, but we have like 30.
Over-deliver.
What your audience needs, wants, and asks for.
Right, cares about.
So this is what we came up with. So from our research, from our clients, and from Hyperconscious Nation, and these are in no specific order other than just kind of what came out, but you guys, if you're listening to this, want more courage. I think that if you are chasing a dream, like picture this, right? Hypothetically speaking, just imagine that you're at a job that you don't like. What do you need to get out of that job?
Yeah.
You definitely need courage to take that initial jump. And maybe it's not just becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe it's just going to another job. But if you're not happy, anytime you're facing a fear or you're trying to overcome uncertainty, that requires courage.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things we're always trying to give to you guys. That's why we have people like Isabella Picard on. She's talking about, waking up in the hospital, not being able to move. Like, that took so much courage for her to become the young woman she is today. Or Brian Wood. Oh, that was a while ago. Brian Wood was ambushed in Iraq?
I forget exactly where.
Or Afghanistan?
Dude, I think that movie's coming up soon.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
He's killing it.
Yeah, he is. But ask yourself this, like, where am I the most courageous? Where am I the least courageous? And where can I use more courage in my life?
These are all connected, too, because the next one we have, we'll just go through them here. And just to provide context, Kevin and I spent, a good half hour writing these out?
Yeah.
And then talking about them. So I'm going to hammer all of them, and let's see if we can make some really cool connections. Number 1, as Kevin mentioned, is courage. Number 2, confidence. And these are not in order. These are just the order they came out. Number 3, clarity. Number 4, love. Number 5, you want to feel beautiful, as we all do. Number 6, you want to feel supported. You want to feel appreciated. You want to feel understood. You want to feel like your life has purpose and meaning. You want to feel motivated consistently. We wrote and we circled and starred, believe in them. I think the reason why I circled and starred that is because I feel like that's my purpose, believe in other people. You also want permission to be your authentic self. You want to feel successful. You want accountability. I think that's something we do a good job of. You want tactics. You want to know what to do.
Oh, yeah.
Not just why to do it, which is what we mostly talk about, but also what to actually do. What do I actually do, though, Alan? Okay. Like-minded friends. You want to feel like you belong to a tribe. And you also want guidance, which again is kind of tactical, but also clarity. And then you want hope. You want hope for a brighter future. You want to know deep down that tomorrow is better than today.
How about this? I think the listeners of the Hyperconscious Podcast want to fit in while standing out.
Wow.
They want to fit in with people who aren't trying to fit in.
That's fire.
And being authentic. That's another thing. Being vulnerable.
they want to fit in as their authentic self.
Yeah.
And if they were their authentic self, they wouldn't fit in.
They
with
wouldn't
the normal.
probably not. No.
Wow.
I just picture somebody who, and again, we say for the most part it's women, but we do have men that listen as well.
Right.
Usually the men that listen are high achievers who are looking for tactics, or they don't want to feel alone either. Right? And they find that they resonate with us. But I just picture this. Like anytime I envision somebody who just went through something really hard and they hit like the rock bottom and they're like, no, I'm done with this.
Right.
Now, how do I get what I want out of life? Like, because for a lot of the listeners, for the first time ever, they're chasing their dreams, or they just got out of a shitty relationship with somebody who told them they were useless and worthless, and now they have to build belief in themselves again.
Yeah.
And I think that this podcast is, we're trying to light a candle to like light a dark room to show you what's truly possible.
Right. And when you're in the dark, you'll see that candle, that light.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of people who, and correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, like please reach out about this. I believe that a lot of people who found us, I have a folder with, feedback of all the listeners who've reached out saying that we've changed their life. And that's something I go back to when I'm struggling. And a lot of it has to do with people who were in pain.
Yeah.
Like I remember this one couple lost their son the night before, and they reached out on Snapchat saying that something I said, on the podcast, really resonated with them. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that makes it all worth it. So I think when people are in pain, and even just a shout out to OG Amy, like
OG Amy,
whenever she's at a down time, usually she goes to the podcast because it helps her climb out. And I know that personal development helps me climb out too. So I think that hopefully this podcast is something that you can all go back to whenever you feel like you need that extra boost, that extra hope, that extra belief in yourself.
I just think that one of the things that people want is they want to feel, I mean, we have supported on there, but it's like, you guys know exactly what we're going through. Like, we try to be as transparent, open, honest, and vulnerable as possible.
Right.
And authentic. And like, I want you guys to be able to do that too. It's amazing. At Top Notch Live, I had people come up to me and tell me like their stories. And it's like, I think one of the reasons they're comfortable telling that kind of stuff is because we do.
Right.
And like, I'm not going to judge you. Like, ask me anything, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I think that's super important. But I think that, like, if you had to take away one
on this board,
one that you thought was like the one that we saw the most often.
Oh, one that we see the most often?
Could you pick one?
Do you mean one that I think people need the most?
One that's like from clients, from Hyperconscious Nation, from people we've met in person.
I mean, I'm biased, but I think people want someone who believes in them.
That makes sense.
But that's also, everything looks like a nail to someone with a hammer, I
don't know if I could pick one. I genuinely don't think I could.
Let's try if you had to. Also, I want to provide context too. I asked Kevin last night, like, what are we going to do for our episodes because we record on Monday? The very first question he said is, what are we going through? So just so you guys are aware, like, we want to speak from the heart, and the only way to do that is to be open and vulnerable about the challenges we're facing. And we have trouble with all of these, or have had trouble with all of these in the past.
Well, like we said, so when this podcast started, it was just me. And I was going through what I was going through, and I was trying to be open and honest and vulnerable, but I was very emotional at the time. I didn't have a ton of knowledge, really. I was philosophical. I like to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But at that point, I hadn't read a book.
Right.
So
I hadn't read a book.
I hadn't read a book really at that point.
Yeah.
So Alan said, like, what did I bring any of these to you? And I said, all of them. Like courage, confidence, clarity, love. You made me feel like I was a good-looking person. You made me feel support. Like all of these things. And so this is the part where it gets deep. I want to be the person that I needed when I was at my lowest point. I started hanging out with you when I was like shortly after the lowest point. So like in order for me to be the person that I needed, I have to do all these things.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can do for you guys. Like I just had a moment too. I want, whether it's the 5-minute clinic, whatever it is, I would love for an episode every week to be if one of you guys or gals sent us what you're going through
Yeah.
and we just talked about it.
Right.
Right? I can't guarantee we have the answers to everything. Like, I can never guarantee that.
But you'll definitely not feel alone.
You'll definitely not
feel
feel
more
alone.
understood
Right.
and appreciated
And-
and supported. Yeah.
Who knows if your story is going to help somebody else? Somebody's probably going through the same thing that you're going through,
Something
and you could be
similar.
the person that they need.
Right.
Like, that's how we make this a community. And we have the most amazing community already, but
yeah.
I'm just thinking that it's been a minute since we've helped out a listener on the air, and I'd love to make that a weekly episode where it's like, even if it's a 5-minute clinic, we take one message, we go through it, right? And we figure out, like, all right, what can we do to help here?
I would love it.
All right.
That would be
I
fun.
want to set that intention.
So if you had to pick the most important one on this
Confidence.
board, confidence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do anything without confidence.
And I picked believe in them. It's interesting.
I don't think, I feel like and accountability is super important. Like, if you're an obliger, if you have listened to or read the book The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin, obligers have trouble keeping up their side of something. Like, if their internal expectations.
They don't want to let other people down,
Yeah.
but they let themselves down a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people have obligers need coaches. You don't necessarily need the information. Sometimes you just need somebody to hold you accountable because you don't want to let somebody down.
Right.
So I think accountability is unbelievably important when it comes to a lot of the listeners too, because look at how well they flourished when we were coaching them. That's like a thing too.
So if you're looking for peak performance be sure to reach out.
Appreciation too.
Right.
I don't know. Again, like this is something that I've always said. Like, I've had the amazing, what's the word I'm looking for? Not opportunity to meet and get to know, like, on the deepest level, a lot of women, and most of them have been in terrible, abusive relationships where they didn't feel any of these things,
Right.
and they definitely didn't feel appreciated. They actually feel like they were taken advantage of,
100%.
and I feel like you got to talk about that.
They weren't valued for who they really were. And this is the interesting thing, too. I noticed a lot of our listeners, clients, allies, people that resonate with our message, they not only felt underappreciated, or they felt appreciated for the version of them that wasn't real.
Yeah,
So, for example, if you had a facade on prior to the podcast, which of like a badass,
I did.
that was appreciated, but was that the true Kevin?
No.
So even if you were appreciated, it was appreciated for a perception, not a reality. And I think that one of the things that people struggle with a lot, our listeners, is expressing their authentic truth because of fear of judgment. I think they fear judgment.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
fear of judgment is like a big one. And I think that the quote that I said early on the podcast that has stayed true, very little that we used to say, we still say, but one of them is the suppression of self-expression leads to depression. And I've found that that's very, very true. And it takes courage to express your truth.
It does, especially if you feel alone.
And how do you get appreciated for who you really are if you're not expressing it?
You don't.
Or if you did try to express your truth and it wasn't appreciated, you're going to stop doing that, especially if you're an obliger.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to find a like-minded friends and
Right.
find a community where you feel like you're part of something and you can be yourself.
Right.
Like that's what it's all about. That's why you and I work together, because we can be ourselves. We can be vulnerable. That's why you guys listen, because you feel like we understand you. You feel like we can support you. You feel like we try to help you find your purpose and get your meaning and like stay motivated. And I don't know. I feel like. Go ahead.
This is why I'm so passionate about the events. If you're this is not a plug or a promo. Seriously though, okay. So like Bianca, she's texted me last night, one of my clients, and she said how proud she is, specifically of me, but of the whole team for the event we just hosted. And if she didn't have the courage to get into that room, so congrats to you for doing that.
Yes.
She found what Brant referred to as your people. You got to go find your people.
Yeah.
He was out in Canada. He had big dreams. He felt alone because he said the culture's different there. When he went to Hollywood, he felt like everyone there had big dreams like him. So he felt like he found his people. One of the reasons why I feel so pulled to do these live events is because you're going to find your people. even so much to the point where this is the darker side, you might actually have trouble going back. Because once you know what's possible in terms of belonging, you're not going to want to just... When you're appreciated for your true self, B said this, she said, when I tell most people my dreams, they talk about how I can't do that. When I told people in that room about my dreams, they immediately talked about how I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And they wanted to help me do that. Makes a world of difference. And once you have that, you're not going to want to let it go. So, yeah, come to our next event.
Well, it's like this. If you go into a room, if you and I were in a room with a bunch of people who have never caught a fish before, and we're talking about catching fish, they'd be like, you're crazy. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
But if you went in a room with a bunch of professional fishermen, they tell you exactly how to do it.
Right.
And
they'd know you can do it.
And they know you can do it.
Right.
And again, like,
fire analogy.
what we're talking about every single week is how to get better and how to become the best version of yourself and how your character matters more than almost anything. Because your character is what's with you forever. Your results come and go. They vary. Your character doesn't. And that's what we're always talking about. And I think when you guys want all these things, it's because you want to be the best, most confident, most capable, most clear, most loved, most beautiful, supported, appreciated, understood, on purpose, motivated, successful, accountable, tactical, not alone, belonging, with guidance, with hope for a brighter future person. And you want to be that version of yourself. Because when you're living from that place, you're already kind of living your dreams.
When you... Oh, we got to run. But last question for Kev. Prior to the podcast, when you appeared to have it all, right? Like in your speeches, the girl, the car, the dream job, the money.
Jack.
Did you believe you had a bright future?
No.
Okay.
I didn't believe I didn't know. I had no idea what my future was going to be like. Not a clue.
Right.
I thought when I got that job, I thought I was going to be at that job forever because that job had a lot of money. I remember saying that. I remember at one point I said if I ever got fired from this job, I would kill myself. Genuinely. And I didn't really mean it. It was a running joke we had. But like we used to say that all the time. Because what happens after this? Like how could anything be as good as this?
Wow,
Yeah.
man.
This is
interesting.
better.
That's a limiting belief, huh?
This is better.
Yeah, this is...
I'm fried.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's been a long day.
We had a coaching call with Dave, coaching call with Peter Taunton. We did another episode. We did a bunch of other things. But we wanted to make this episode all about you because at the end of the day, this podcast is about you. And without you, this podcast wouldn't be a thing. And please, please, please reach out, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's in Hyperconscious Nation. Let us know what we can do to better help you guys, to better serve you guys. And if you are going through something, please let us know because we would gladly do an episode on it. We'll obviously keep your name anonymous. We won't call you, shout you out. But it's our goal to help as many of you as possible. And if we can do it on a one-on-one fashion and help everybody else at the same time, that is a win-win-win-win-win.
10-second blip. You said something fire earlier. I forget what it was, though.
This podcast is made for people who want to fit in while they stand out.
Ah, you remembered it. He remembered it. My 10-second blip. I want to help you believe in your own brighter future enough to chase it.
Strong work.
Cool.
Should we do, what are we going to do next? Limiting beliefs? We don't know yet.
Or standards.
Standards. Yes, we said we were going to do standards in this episode, but this came to us, so we're going to do it in the next episode. Your dreams are going to dictate your standards.
And I promise we'll be able to speak on that one.
Yes. We hope you enjoyed. We love you guys. We will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.